The movie was great. Totally worth coming. It's getting pretty late. I'll catch up with you guys some other time. Bye. You? I thought you were busy tonight. Remains of a young female lawyer found in the Kings Lake. Authorities have confirmed this to be a murder case, however, no information has been found yet. Alicia. Her car was found on Route 98, far from where her body was found. Yeah, it was on the news. Her body was in a horrible condition. Who could do something like this to her? She was such a nice person. Do you think it's that mystery man she was dating? Does anyone know who he is? I heard it was someone from her law school. No, it can't be someone from outside. I think she was probably dating someone from the office, but they were keeping the relationship a secret because of the policy. John was sitting at his cubicle, deep in his thoughts, listening to his colleagues gossip behind him. Who could have done this? He worked as a records clerk at the BII law firm for about a year now. And Alicia Alton, she was a paralegal. Her death came as a shock to everyone. Look, it's the new guy. He's replacing Alicia. John peeked out of his cubicle to see a tall, handsome man, suited up, checking the time on his Rolex wristwatch as he walked down the aisle. Wow, he's handsome, like Prince Charming. Not Prince Charming. He's like James Bond. There was a charismatic smile on his face as he passed a glance at the ladies before he walked to his desk. The new paralegal, Mr. Blake Campbell. What do these girls see in him? He's not any different than us. There's something about him. What? Something in his eyes. Come on, man. Don't tell me you're falling for him too. From the very first impressions of Mr. Blake Campbell, John was more than intrigued by the man. There was something about the way he dressed, the way he spoke, the way he handled things. There was something about him that was different from others. And in a way, John had become obsessed with him. Walking down the aisle towards Blake's desk, John stopped just a distance away so he could watch him. He checked out his clothes, his belt, his shoes. Even his cologne. Everything he wore was very expensive and classy. His presence was one of striking confidence and charm. But it wasn't just his appearance, but his personality. His desk was perfectly arranged, all the papers and files arranged color-coordinated. Even the paperweight was placed right in the center. Hi Blake, I got you some coffee. Thank you, Wilson. I appreciate it. John watched as Blake placed a napkin on the table before he put down the cup of coffee and started browsing through his work. In his mind, as he pointed out each and every feature, all of a sudden, Blake turned around, spotting him. Mr. Smith, is there something I can help you with? A bit conscious that he had been caught checking him out, John awkwardly said, No, it's nothing," before he turned to leave, almost bumping into the cubicle behind him. Over the following days, John began to follow Blake, monitoring the way he dealt with everything, the way he spoke to people. After work one day, he even followed him back home. The man didn't just dress in style, but he rode in style. John followed him into a decent neighborhood, where Blake stopped at a luxurious single-floor house. Wow, nice view. The area was quiet, and the houses were spaced far apart. Immediately opposite to his house was a park. There, John found a good spot from which he could watch Blake through his windows. Every day around 8 p.m., Blake would turn on some classic jazz and cook his own dinner. He then sat down and had his food with a glass of red wine. And right before heading off to bed, he would take a swim in his backyard pool. Even his private, personal life was just as sophisticated and fancy as his public, professional life. At the law firm, ever since he joined, all the women had been looking for a chance to speak to him and offer him company. All throughout the day, John watched them roaming around him. It was awfully distracting. "Here's that file you mentioned, Blake." "Oh, you found it. Thank you." "No problem. If you ever need anything, let me know." John scribbled on his notepad, when he suddenly noticed Blake get up and walk towards him. Was he coming here? Why was he coming here? "Mr. Smith, have you prepared the Silvergate case files?" John fixed his glasses and scurried through his desk. I'm sorry, Mr. Campbell. I think I misplaced it. I'll have to search for it." "Oh, it's alright. I'll manage. Just make sure it's ready by Monday." "Of course, Mr. Campbell." Blake took a look at his watch. "The clock is ticking. I've gotta go." It was a Friday at the law firm. Everyone was looking forward to a weekend off. But after work, John took a scooter and followed after Blake again, like he had been for the past few days. Tonight, Blake got ready and went out to the lounge to hang out. Around 10 p.m., John noticed him leave with a beautiful young woman. They got in his car and he drove her back home. What is he doing with her? The entire night, John tried to get a glimpse of the two from each and every window, until sometime around 2 a.m., all the lights went out. It was nearly 3 at night. He heard the front door open and saw the young woman hurrying out. Her hair messed up, her heels in her hands, as she walked the walk of shame back home. So it was an ordinary night? John waited to see when Blake would be up. But as the hours passed, he dozed off himself on his scooter. "Mr. Smith, what a surprise!" John woke up startled to find Blake standing in front of him. He was wearing his robe and had a newspaper in his hands. How did he notice he was here? And since when had he been aware he was here? But with a smile, Blake said, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" Sure. Come on in." John followed Blake inside his house. The furniture was in tip-top shape, the decor was classy, and everything was neatly arranged. "Take a seat, Mr. Smith." Blake poured out some coffee for the two from a glass coffee maker and served some croissants. As John took a sip, Blake said, "Do you like the coffee?" "It's made from specially imported coffee beans from Nicaragua, and this Bemex pours the perfect brew." "Yes, it's fresh." Blake then leaned back in his chair as he stared at John, sipping on his coffee. John was actually getting a bit uncomfortable by the way he was looking at him. "So, what is it? Do you have a crush on me or something?" Blake said with a smirk. John was caught a bit off guard. "Huh?" But all of a sudden, Blake became stern. "Why the hell have you been stalking me? It's not what you..." Before John could think of an explanation or even properly speak, Blake got up and caught hold of his throat. He pushed him back against the wall. "You lowlife. You think I haven't noticed you following me for the past week? If I ever see you or your scooter anywhere around me again, that will be the last day of your pathetic life." John looked into Blake's eyes. He had never seen him so furious before. As he let him go, he stumbled onto the floor, gasping for breath. "Get out of my house, you dog." That night, John quickly left without another word. The next day, however, when he went to work, he was a bit nervous to confront Blake again. Would he tell anyone? Would he make a scene out of it? But to his surprise, when Blake arrived, he passed by John's cubicle and smiled. "How are you, Mr. Smith?" "I'm fine. Here is the file you wanted." "Good to know, and thank you." This week went by peacefully for Blake. Come Saturday evening, he got ready to go out, wearing his suit, his watch, and finally his dress shoes before he stepped out to take in a deep breath. Mr. Smith, I almost miss him." Blake was more than relieved knowing that incompetent fool from work had stopped following him. Tonight, Blake had some different plans. Wow, she's Ukrainian. Quite a hefty amount for a Ukrainian. Blake went to his garage and took out his second car tonight. With it, he drove to the location where he spotted the young woman. After arriving home with her, they shared a few drinks before Blake took her to his room. What are you going to do with that? Wait, stop. No. It was around 1 a.m. when Blake packed her in the back of his trunk and drove out to the lakeside. There was no one here, as usual. He carried the body, threw it out into the waters. It was truly a fun night. I won't lie, I'm gonna miss you. You were a sweet one. Blake smirked as he watched the young woman's body sink under. But just as he was to return, he felt a heavy hit on his head and went unconscious. Mr. Campbell, I recognized what you are the moment I first saw you. John Smith and Blake Campbell were two sides of the same coin. They were both very intelligent, handsome, and both had a strange fetish. Fetish for a woman's body in a very different way. While Blake had a secret behind a screen of charm and sophistication, John hid his true face behind innocence and simplicity. In these past months, since John had been working at the law firm, he had his eyes on Alicia, an exceptionally beautiful young woman. Over time, he was able to successfully build a soft spot for him in her heart with his pretentious innocence and simplicity. They started dating, but kept it a secret due to the office policies, which only served better for John's true intentions. Because at the right moment, John would prey on her, and one night he did. You? I thought you were busy tonight. But that night, when he went to the lakeside to dispose of her, he noticed there was another body there already. John fell into a dilemma. He couldn't stop wondering about what he saw. Who could have done this? And it was in a time like this he met Blake Campbell. There's something about him, something in his eyes. Blake was so confident, he never broke eye contact. He wouldn't blink. He always worked with precision in every matter. John had always maintained a simple personality so no one would see him for his true self. But when he saw Blake, others may not have known, but he instantly recognized the same traits and instincts he had in himself. He's just like me. This was why John had started to follow him. At first, he wasn't so conscious as he thought Blake would find him stupid and ignore him. But the day Blake confronted him, "Why the hell have you been stalking me?" John became conscious if Blake had seen through his veil. Otherwise, he wouldn't have paid someone like him any attention. "Get out of my house, you dog." So, he went on with his act. However, John hadn't stopped spying on him. From then on, he took extra precautions so not to fall in his eyes. And after it all, what he had assumed turned out to be true. There's no place for the two of us.
Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.